Hey everybody, I am on I95 heading south, getting close to Richmond, Virginia. You can see some buildings. I'm getting close to downtown, and you can see I'm using AutoPilot with the AutoSteer and my water bottle driving. This is a pretty challenging area.
Keep to the left and follow I95 south towards through traffic.
There's my GPS from Tesla. You see, this is the most challenging area of this road actually coming up. I don't know if you've watched any of my AutoPilot, self-driving AutoSteer videos with the water bottle, but you know, any straight road is not difficult.
I95 south towards through traffic.
But this here, right after 64, is an area where I typically sometimes have to take the wheel over because it gets really congested. There's a couple tight turns in here. We'll see how we do.
Please follow the road for 24 miles.
Road turns to the right. And by the way, this is my first YouTube live video ever. So hopefully this will be a good experiment and I'll do some more of these. Because I'm on the road all the time. Actually, I'll show you the mileage of my car in a little bit. I just got it in the middle of March. If you've been watching some of my YouTube videos, you'd be surprised at how many miles I've got on already, and it's going to keep going like that. And I don't know if you've also noticed, but there was an update recently. I think this update that came out from Tesla, I couldn't figure out what was on it, and I put a video up to that effect that I didn't know, and somebody please help me. I think actually one of the things it did was it allows auto lane change to take place on secondary roads, because up till that update, I could only do auto lane change on interstate highways. Here, this is where it gets challenging. Actually, there's not too much traffic here. I guess everybody's at lunch or just about to go to lunch now, since it's 11:30 on a Monday. There's the buildings downtown. Here's that little church, if you're familiar with the church popping up right above the interstate. It's right there. So we're about to cross over the James River, I think it is, where it comes in here to Richmond. There's downtown, we just passed it. This is all bridge now for a little period of time while we cross over the river. The old condos down there, like a lot of this, I think almost all of them are adaptive reuse. Not old condos, they're old factories. Now they're condos. Adaptive reuse there in Richmond, Virginia. There's the river. One thing I also want to mention here in my Model X, I've got a Tesla Model X with a ginormous windshield. You can see the reflection of all my crap up here in the front of my car. But this is, you're getting a lot of reflection because I've got some heavy tint up there. But even with the heavy tint and the tint on the rest of the windshield, I tend to get a lot of sun. I actually have to wear a hat in my Model X, believe it or not. I found that out after a weekend trip about 9 days ago, that I got a lot of sun on my forehead and I couldn't figure out why, because I was on the beach. And actually, if you look on this channel, there's a lot of videos about Assateague Island where I was with the Model X last weekend. I actually did some crazy videos with the doors. If you look at some of those videos, I think I have the doors, Falcon wing doors, uploaded yet, where I was driving at a slow speed in the parking lot with them. But if not, I'll get those up soon. But anyway, I had my hat on the whole time at the beach, and I'm like, there's no way I got any sunburn on my forehead at the beach. But it was probably when I was driving with this windshield just pointing into the sun. That's probably what it was. Well, we successfully went through I-95 through downtown Richmond. That's pretty good. I didn't have to take the wheel over. But again, there wasn't that much traffic. This is probably the least amount of traffic during the daylight hour. I think like around 11:30 here on a Monday morning. The only other time there's less traffic is in the middle of the night, which sometimes I do drive in the middle of the night. I'm going to bump up the speed here. Use a stalk over here to bump it up. Starting to get people moving up behind me. So overall, also, I've noticed that with AutoPilot, taking these turns and staying in lanes without ping-ponging has really dramatically improved since March, since I got my vehicle. I can see that it's learning, it's figuring these things out, and it just keeps getting better over time. At first, I was thinking after a long trip of the back and forth and the steering corrections that I wasn't gonna be able to use this long term. I never made a video to that effect, but that's what I was thinking. But I'd say that, you know, with the improvements that have happened recently, it's really a great system, and as long as it keeps getting better like it does, I can see how it's gonna really surprise almost everybody that uses it. If you're not afraid to use it, that is, because I've had people that drive my car and I say you can use the AutoPilot and they don't really want to use it. You know, they I don't know, they're just a little too scared. I mean, most people just, really everybody, nobody grew up with this stuff. Nobody understands. Everybody thinks that, you know, you're gonna have to do all this yourself. You gotta be alert and at the wheel, which you do. I'm alert at the wheel, ready to take over at any moment. But at the same time, the computer on this vehicle is looking at around at 360 degrees, overlapping cameras at all times. No human can do that. That's, the potential is there, you know, in the very, very near future, because they don't have everything activated yet, to drive much more safely than a human driver. Look at that guy moving out of his lane there. See? I see that all the time. That's one thing I see the most. Now that I'm driving without actually concentrating directly on the wheel, actually watching what the vehicle's doing and what other people are doing, that's really what I'm spending my time doing, watching other drivers. I see so many drivers that are just completely distracted. It's unbelievable how many people are distracted, how many people are just constantly drifting out of their lanes. And that's what I really have to do when I take over the wheel. It's not so much that the vehicle doesn't know what it's doing, although that does happen from time to time. There's that big bridge over here on 95 that crosses up with James. See it up there? Anyway, what I really have to intervene for is other drivers slowly drifting out of their lane into mine. And I think that the Tesla software hasn't really been calibrated to pick that up yet. I know that there's some side collision stuff that's been uploaded recently in one of the updates. I don't think that's included in that, but I really don't want to test it either. So when I see somebody drifting over into my lane, I will usually just grab the wheel and take over, because I don't want that vehicle to get any closer than they absolutely have to. There are these big concrete overpasses if you've driven on this part of 95 south of Richmond. These look familiar to you. All the way up to the windshield there. See straight under the bridge. And actually, while I've got you guys here, if you're watching, I'm gonna make another video about this later. It's not live, it's specific, but I got one of these easy passes. It could be Sun Pass. They're all similar technology. Actually, I'll hold it up in front of the camera. There it is, Easy Pass. And I'm trying to figure out where to mount it. I know on the Tesla Model S, there's been some issues because of there's metallic film, I think, throughout the entire windshield, except on some more of the late Model S, they left a little gap to the right, I think, of the rearview mirror to mount your Easy Pass. But over here on the X, I think all the metallic stuff is actually up here where I've got the dark tint, and there's no metallic film, I don't think, on the front part of the windshield to block any kind of electronic transmissions. So unfortunately, you may know also that I've got this whole windshield tinted. It's an extremely light tint. You can barely even tell it's there. I just have it really for ultraviolet and heat rejection. So I don't want to mount this Easy Pass directly to the windshield, because if I take it off or someone tugs at it, it might rip all the tint off. So what I've actually thought about doing is going over here on the right side, right in here. See that? This area? Yep. And actually taking the Easy Pass and mounting it right in there. That's what I'm thinking about doing. So I don't really see it from the driver's area. The passenger side can see it. I just want to make sure that it actually works there before I mount it. Although it won't be that big of a deal to remove it, but this black plastic thing has a bunch of cameras that face outwards and sensors. I don't know if you ever noticed that on the Model X. And it's got a center cable that goes all the way back into the main part of the vehicle that has cables. So that's where I'm planning on mounting it. And I don't know if anybody's watching this video. I don't even know how to tell. Except that, oh, okay, when I see this orange stripe on the camera, it says poor connection. So I don't know how this video is going to turn out. That's what it's telling me. So maybe when this orange bar goes away on the top of the video, I'll have a better connection. We'll see. Oh, there's something. It fluctuates. Dan, okay, I see Dan. You're saying it fluctuates in quality but no brakes right now. Okay, thanks for letting me know.
Watch out, vehicle stopped on shoulder ahead.
I'm in a decent area here, just south of Richmond along the interstate, so I would think it would be decent quality. Hey Dan, if you're out there, do you own a Tesla? And are you familiar with the AutoPilot? I'm just kind of curious how much you know about it. How much do you know about the AutoPilot system with AutoSteer? All that. I don't know if you watched my videos. I'm just curious what your thoughts are if you've used the system before. If you could respond. Hey, there's Bruce. You're asking me about how I put the water bottle on the side. This is just a running water bottle. It has a strap that goes around the back, and it loops on the bottom of the bottle. You know, runners use it. You put your hand in here and you grip it so you can hold the bottle while you're running. And I just filled it with water, and it straps it on nicely right along the side of the wheel here. It looks like this, only it's on this side, and it just holds it right there. And it simulates someone touching the wheel, so I don't ever have to touch the wheel. And I've got other videos. If you check my channel, I've got other videos that talk about how I do this and show how it works that aren't going to be as long as this video, because I know this video is going to end up being on for a while. We're on for, looks like 13 minutes already, live. This is the problem, actually. See how this van's coming in off of on the acceleration lane on the highway? If I was in that lane, and actually maybe I will, so you can see. For some, I'll use auto lane change. Okay, that just changed by itself on auto lane change. But this is one thing I've noticed with the Tesla system that's not quite working right, and I have done other videos on this if you search my channel. When I'm going down the road, if someone's on the acceleration lane merging in, my vehicle will not stop. It will run right into them. I've got to do that myself. Let's see, comments. Okay. Dan, okay, so you know basically everything. You're an AI scientist. Okay, Dan, maybe if you know basically everything on this, like I just commented, I'm noticing issues where vehicles are entering interstates on the acceleration lane, and my vehicle will not, it is relentless. It will not let up. It'll crash into the vehicle if I let it. So I gotta usually take the wheel or hit the brake. And I've seen actually videos where Teslas have gotten in accidents in those exact situations. And I know that this thing has 360-degree cameras that overlap, so why in the world is it doing that? Do you know, is it just not updated yet, so where the software is recognizing the corners, the front corners of the vehicle? Because that's what I'm thinking. So let me know when you get a chance. I'm thinking that sooner or later, you know, since they're saying it's not full self-driving, although I can kind of simulate that, that's probably one of the holes in the system right now. All right, I think there's an acceleration lane coming up here. We'll see if anybody approaches on the acceleration lane. Actually, guys, notice this. Oh, there's somebody right here. Let's see how it goes. See how it does. They're going to let me. Let's see. They're gonna let me go. That's good. All right. Well, if they floored it there, I probably would have run into them. That's the situation where I had to tap the brake, because the Tesla system, at least up to this point, hasn't been able to incorporate that into what it's trying to do. And maybe it has with this most recent update, because like I said earlier, I don't know everything that happened with this most recent update. It seems like a double of the one before it, but I'm sure that they've added a few new features. They wouldn't have given an update otherwise. Okay, Dan, my impression is they don't use cameras for vehicle direction at all. That's why it can seem blind. It uses sonar echoes on the side and very crude forward radar vision. Okay, so Dan, does that mean that it will never use cameras for vehicle direction? And if it does use those sonars and radars, why wouldn't it pick up somebody in the front passenger side corner of my vehicle? I don't understand why it wouldn't pick somebody up.
Watch out, vehicle stopped on road ahead.
Do the Mario Kart Easter egg. Alright, you see we're down to 55. Bruce, do I have the newest software? Yeah, I should. I don't think there's any updates I don't have. I do have the latest updates. Notice here that we're going 57 right now. I've got it set from 68, and it's speed limit of 60. Oh, look at this, guys. Let's see how it does here. Look at this. Whoa. Okay, it hit the brakes a good bit. I think I've set it like 4 car lengths, so it really wasn't that dramatic. Tap AutoPilot 4 times. Okay, you mean on the small stock, Kendall? I'll try that. Well, you can see, let me just show you on the small stock. Right now I am 4 car lengths set. Now to see if I have the latest thing, I'll tap it 4 times, you're saying? Let me try that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Didn't do anything. Is it supposed to do something? Okay, Dan, I saw that you commented that the cameras, I couldn't read the whole thing before it disappeared, the cameras are going to do more than what they do now, and that's kind of what I was thinking too, that they're only slowly rolling out what the hardware is capable of. I'm sure they want to make sure it's done correctly. Alright, I want to get out of this lane. I'm just going way too slow right now. Going 54 and 60. There's cars all behind me, you can see there. I'll try to hit the auto lane change. Let's see if it'll go. Yeah, it's going with that guy right there. Okay. Auto lane change doesn't need that much room. Okay, I saw what you said. Messy guessing at where it is. Okay, that makes sense. I don't know where you guys are watching from, but you know, I'm here south of Richmond right now. You can see it's 91 degrees. It's pretty much mostly sunny, I'd say. There are some clouds in the sky, but mostly sunny. I'm getting a lot of heat gain through all this glass on the Model X. That's something I did notice too. I've made videos about that. Toronto, Canada. See, someone's asking if it's silky smooth. Let me try this again. Atlanta, okay. 4 taps on the stalk.
Watch out, hazard reported ahead.
Okay, not doing anything. Denmark, hey. Yeah, there's that vehicle on the shoulder. So I've got Waze going too. I usually run Waze simultaneously with the Tesla GPS because in my experience, Waze is a lot more accurate in terms of giving me the correct routes and traffic to avoid. Oh, Q-Wall, that was because of Waze. That Waze told me that. Waze is a lot more in my experience at determining the best route to take. This system over here is great because it has this integrated with the Superchargers. It tells you how much battery you'll have when you get to where you're going, but it doesn't do the best job at giving you the best and quickest route in my experience. So that's why I always have Waze, and of course Waze tells you where the cops are too, And also Waze tells me if there's...
Watch out, vehicle stopped on shoulder ahead.
That's Waze again. Tells me if there's a vehicle stopped on shoulders ahead. There's no guarantee it's accurate though, because if you're familiar with Waze, it's a private social network for driving, and it depends on individuals reporting this stuff. And you know, it's kind of the honor system. They don't check to make sure there's actually police there, there's actually a vehicle on the shoulder, but there is a vehicle on the shoulder right there. Yeah, now I've got poor connection. Sorry about that, Kendall. I can't do anything about it. I'm just in an area that has poor connection right now since I'm driving, and we're gonna go in and out of different areas. I'll try to keep this going until I get to the next Supercharger. I'm heading right now, if you can see on here, to the Supercharger in South Hill, Virginia. And this is the great part. It tells me how much battery I have left when I get there. That's where I'm going. Oh yeah, it is recovering. You're right, Dan. All the warnings are gone. It must be closer to the cell tower now. I'm still going slow because of this car in front of me. I'm going to use auto lane change again. And that auto lane change, like most of them these days, is a lot smoother than it used to be. It used to be really jerky. At least it looked like I was driving drunk or something. I mean, people behind me, that's what they probably thought. But nowadays, it's a lot better than it used to be. These turns, see, it's turning now. Turns are still a challenge. Turns are, you can tell it's not a human driving.
In 2 miles, take the exit right onto I85 South towards South Hill.
Especially if you're driving on turns that are up
Watch
or down
out,
mountain
vehicle
hills.
stopped on shoulder ahead.
Turns that are tight at high speed. From UAE, all right. Well, we're on Interstate 95 if you're just joining us, and we're going to be making it our way over to Interstate 85. It's on the right here in just a couple miles. Actually, I think a little over a mile. I'm going to have to get over. I'm going to have to move over 2 lanes. See, I'm going way faster than I should, actually. I'm going 68 to 55. But I need to get over. Look at all these cars coming in on the off-ramp. All right, let me try to move over. They gotta let me. Auto lane change is letting me do this. Okay, good. One of the best things about auto lane change is it watches traffic for openings, so I don't have to turn my head. There, I did it again. That was pretty smooth. Both those lane changes were with auto lane change. See it gives it a little dotted line until it determines for sure where that new lane is. That's the way it works.
In half a mile, take the exit right onto I85 South towards South Hill.
Okay, there's the 85 exit. Also, just so you all know, I don't know if you've been watching my channel for a while, but I've driven this.
Take the exit right onto I85 South towards South Hill.
I've driven this section of interstate so many times I couldn't even tell you. My vehicle has, I'm sure it's got it memorized by now.
Please follow the road for 54.
Yeah, sorry about making you nervous. I'm pointing the camera away, but I'm watching the road. I'm just holding, if I see something I want you guys to see, I'll move the camera that way. We're on the split off here. Usually does just fine here. There's a kind of a tight turn coming up here with some acceleration lanes. See those dump trucks, I don't know if you can see them way up there. But anyway, yeah, I'm just holding this camera and watching the road though. I'm always watching forward. See, this lane gets really wide. It gets kind of messed up here. It loses, can't figure out where the lane is, but then when the acceleration lane ends, it usually recovers there. It recovered. That's how you tell by looking at the screen if you don't have one of these new Teslas with the AutoPilot. When those lines on either side of my vehicle on the screen, when they are blue, that means that it knows exactly where the line is, exactly where the lane is that's supposed to be in. But if one of them goes away from blue or becomes dotted blue or gray, it's not sure. That's how you can tell, you know, what the computer knows at any given time, or what it thinks it knows anyway. So, I mean, so you got to be aware. I mean, the bottom line is you got to be aware about all this stuff. I'm constantly aware of it. I know some people are kind of freak out when they see the vehicle driving itself, and they're like, "You're going to crash." You know,
Police reported ahead.
Oh, there's the police. See, this is what tells you when the police are reported ahead. What am I at? I'm at speed limit 60. At least it thinks I'm on 60. I'm going to drop it down, the max speed, to 65. But you really have to be aware when you're using the system. There's no question about it. But it's amazing how good of a job it does. It definitely does a better job than any distracted driver out there, I would say. Anyone who's not completely 100% focused on the road, in my opinion, this system does a better job. It's only every once in a while it gets tripped up by some weird things, especially construction zones. That's something you really got to be aware of. It's construction zones. So right now we're on I85, so you know where we are. We're about 51 miles from the exit for the Supercharger. And remember, folks, if you're watching, I know you're commenting, I see it. Yeah, the signal goes in and out. It's not anything I can control. It's just that we're driving so quickly in between mobile phone towers, and sometimes we get a good signal, sometimes we don't. So if it gets bad, it'll get better in a short period of time. See, somebody's asking me, Jome Tech, you guys? I'm on I85 now. I just came off of I95 south of Richmond, and I'm heading towards the North Carolina border. I'm heading towards the Supercharger. You can see here on the map. I'm about 50 miles away from the exit to get off for the South Hill Supercharger. That's actually a good view. You can see my side, see what's going on in the front. You can see what the Tesla sees, what the wheel's doing. Hey, Alabama. Blackstone. I don't think I've been to Blackstone. I'm guessing that's in Virginia. I gotta get out of this lane. Some really slow traffic here. Use the auto lane change. Somebody's passing me right now. I'm gonna hit the auto lane change. Sometimes the auto lane change hesitates before it goes, which is fine. I'd rather have it hesitate and be sure that it can turn than turn and hit somebody. Well, where is Blackstone, Virginia? Is that, like, if I'm heading down 85 south, is it to the east of 85 or to the west of 85? France, hey. How's it going in France today? Actually, I'm going to take a trip to Europe. I don't think I'll be able to bring the Tesla, but probably next year. That's on my plans, my goals anyway, to go to Europe next year, 2018. I know I got poor connection now. I see that. Sorry about that. Sunny and hot in France. Okay, road work ahead. Here's a construction zone. There's a couple of these out here on 85. We'll see how you can see how the Tesla will be able to handle them. East. Okay, so you're in between 85 and 95 in Blackstone then. Okay, actually I will be driving
Watch
through
out,
there.
construction on road ahead.
On Wednesday. Maybe I'll do a Facebook Live video when I'm driving through. I'm actually heading over to Norfolk on Wednesday evening. So during the day on Wednesday, I'll probably make a live video. Because keep left. It's like the right lane ends here. Okay, so I'm just gonna stay where I am. I just gotta make sure nobody turns into me and cuts me off. It's kind of the same thing as whenever a lane ends, whether it's a lane, just an acceleration lane onto the interstate where I'm driving or somebody turning over. This is where it seems Tesla has a problem. Like, this truck's kind of taking its time. I don't think I'm gonna get too close to him though. Yeah, I'm slowing down. The Tesla's braking now. That wasn't close at all. That was just fine. I didn't even really notice that the braking even took place. But this thing has definitely made some panic stops when in autopilot. If all of a sudden it sees something, somebody cuts into my way, it will make a panic stop. I'll say one of the drawbacks of autopilot that I have noticed even today is that it can't see super far down the road. So if I can see way far down the road that traffic has stopped, I, as a driver, would normally get on the brakes. I would start to slow the vehicle down way in advance. This thing, I program in, I think you probably saw 4 car lengths. I'm gonna see if I, why am I there, now we're accelerating. Okay, we're gonna pass this guy. I programmed in a 4 car length distance on the autopilot, and sometimes it seems to me like it waits till we're 4 car lengths away till it hits the brakes, even if everybody in front of me is stopped. And I've been in these situations maybe 2 or 3 times, and once or twice I've actually just waited on the vehicle and trusted it's going to stop, and it does stop, but it makes a real panic stop when you're approaching a long line of cars in the distance that is stopped. So if I were you and you're using autopilot, I wouldn't trust it in those situations right now. I would look far ahead at all times, and if you see you're approaching some stopped traffic, and actually Waze will always tell me too if I'm approaching an area where there's heavy traffic, I would start to brake in advance and turn the autopilot off. That's my advice. All right, we just made it through that construction zone. No problem, because we were in the left lane and the right lane ended. And there was no changing of lanes there. Actually, if I do a live video again after the supercharging session, I will, actually maybe I'll keep this going through the supercharging session. I don't know, we'll see how the signal goes on. I will show you the construction on Interstate 85 just inside the North Carolina border. And that area has some switchbacks actually where we go from one side of the highway to the other and back while they're doing work, because they're doing work on both sides of the highway simultaneously, I think. Alright, I can't tell where my battery level is right now, so if you hear some noise, I'm going to plug my phone, let this thing charge. There, I'm just opening it up to plug it in. So this thing can charge while I'm recording. Sorry, just fiddling with it. There we go. Now it's charging. We're in some pretty rural areas here. Okay, I gotta bump the speed up. You can see the sensor recognizes it as 70. That's not always accurate, by the way. It definitely is not. Usually doesn't change quick enough. I've got it set for 65 max. So I'm gonna bump it up to maybe 77. There's cops in this section of road all the time. Usually Waze will let me know and I'll drop it down to 75, but I've never gotten a ticket going 77, even 78 in the 70 here. I'm pretty sure that this speedometer is pretty accurate in the Tesla. I can't say for sure. That's just my thought, is that it is accurate. Everything else needs to be really accurate with the range and everything else. You figure in order to figure that stuff out, it's got to have an accurate speedometer. This section of road also typically does not have much in the way of traffic, so it may get a little monotonous at times here. Okay, so when Kendall's asking about 3 car lengths is the best, I did have 3 car lengths in the past, and I found that it would still brake in what I would consider a slight panic mode at a 3 car length distance. So I bumped it back to 4, and if I'm in heavy traffic, because I will use this in heavy traffic, or a lot of congestion, I will move that thing back, 5, 6 car lengths. I think 7 is the maximum, I think. Sometimes even that, it depends on how much traffic, because a lot of times when you're in traffic situations, there's
Watch
a lot
out,
of
construction on road ahead.
There's a lot of traffic ripples that go through, and if you don't have that thing set at a long distance, you're going to be jerked around by the system. Well, not just this system, but anybody driving, unless you increase your following distance in those situations, it really is not comfortable in my opinion. Okay, I'm on the poor connection again. Sorry about that. Hopefully it'll recover soon. Yes, it is a black X. And that has to do with why it gets hot too, I know. Although, just the fact that the X has so much glass, such a big greenhouse, I think that really increases the air conditioning load. And that's why I decided to tint every single window in this car. And if you look at some of my other videos I show you at the tint shop and afterwards what was done, so you can see what I did, what type of film I used specifically also. I would highly recommend it. Anyone who does any kind of driving other than just a simple commute, I would absolutely recommend that you get all your windows tinted. And what I used was 3M crystalline. I've used that on other vehicles in the past too. It's a non-metallic nanotechnology for heat rejection, and all of them have UV rejection, but this is for heat rejection without obstructing your vision and without using anything metal that will interfere with radio waves, especially for your mobile devices and things, or easy passes or whatever you use. There's a rest area. We are 39 miles away now where we're getting off. And my screen, when I go to my screen here, I don't think it appears to be flickering. I don't see it flickering in the phone. But when I had this X in last week for work on the Falcon wing doors, and I'm going to be posting some videos about that soon, they gave me a Model S that was 2014, I think it was 3 years old, and I did some videos in that Model S, and the videos in the Model S, someone's asking about the steering wheel cover, I'll answer that in a minute. The videos in the Model S showed the screen flickering, so I'm guessing they've updated these screens and made them better over time. Okay, the steering wheel cover, this thing is a real cheap cover. I got it at Walmart for like $5 because I have real sweaty palms, and I do a lot of driving and have for many years, and I realize that on my older cars, if I don't have a cover, I just destroy the finish. It just smooths the whole wheel out. It ruins it over time, the sweat from my palms. So that's why I put this on. This comes off real easy, and actually my wheel is not even leather. It's actually the vegan stuff. I made sure that this whole vehicle is vegan. No leather seats, no leather things on the dash. This is Alcantara. No leather steering wheel. Oh, there's a deceleration lane right there. It kind of moved me left or right a little bit. It does that from time to time. Okay, but anyway, this is a cheap cover. It comes off easy. Like I said, this protects the wheel so that I don't destroy it with the sweat from my hands. It's really practical and nothing more than that. And because since I drive a lot too, I really need to make sure I don't destroy this vehicle. I plan on keeping it as long as I can, as long as it doesn't get in a bad wreck, which hopefully it won't. I've also, you can't see the hood here on this vehicle, but I've got it covered in some of those clear bra type plastic things. I've never used them before, but I had it applied when this was brand new, and I've got a video on that as well. If you look back at my channel, I don't think it was 3M. Suntech? I think it was Suntech is what I put on there. It was some kind of new generation film that just came out in January. Is it AutoPilot 2? Yes, this is AutoPilot 2. This vehicle was built in March of 2017, March of this year. So it's got the latest hardware. And actually that's why I bought the vehicle, is because I wanted one that gave me free unlimited supercharging, which they took away in January but brought back a little bit, kind of. They brought it back this year for Model X and S only. And I also wanted, the capability for level 5 autonomy, and that's what I've got in this vehicle. And I've already paid actually the extra money for the full self-driving package, so I'm just waiting for the regulatory approval and them to release the features. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to do a video about this too. I'm a little bit concerned that Elon Musk resigned from Trump's advisory panel. I think it was like the Innovation Committee or something like that, because I figured that was a shoo-in for Tesla getting regulatory approval for this AutoPilot self-driving stuff. But now that he's gone, I don't know about that anymore. I obviously I understand why he did what he did because of some of the policies of the current administration, but I think it may hurt Tesla, actually, the business of Tesla. Yeah, I mean, I think he had to do it, but if that means that Tesla can't release their full autonomous vehicles in a reasonable period of time, then that's going to hurt the company financially. All right, let me move over a lane here. Get behind some more slow traffic. I've got another road work area. Another lane is closed up here. I don't know which lane it is. We'll find out. Poor connection again. Well, this is this guy. He's drifting out of his lane. I'm going to take the wheel over. That was a rental U-Haul Penske truck or something. Yeah. All right, I'll put it back on. Okay, there. Do you see that? I just hit the stalk 4 times to turn it on. What is that? Is that what you were asking me about? I've never seen this before. And it's playing Don't Feel the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult.
I gotta have more cowbell.
Gotta have more cowbell?
Guess what? I got a fever. My only prescription is more cowbell.
So I guess this means I have ultra smooth autopilot? And just keeps repeating like that? Well, if that's what you're trying to tell me about, okay, it stopped. I don't hear the music anymore. Lane ends, merge right. Okay, I gotta get out of this lane.
Watch out, construction on road ahead.
Oh, that's the Easter egg Mario Kart. Okay, I got it. I didn't even know what that was. Okay, I'm getting out of this lane because autopilot is not gonna get me out of this lane. I already know that. So I'm moving over. Okay, Dan, I see. I think you said they may never develop the features. Well, obviously that's not what I was told. It's not what I paid extra money for. So, obviously they'd have to make amends for that in some way, because they're obviously saying they are going to have full self-driving level 5, and I already paid for that option. So that would be interesting to see how that works out for sure. Yeah, this is a really fun vehicle to own. I mean, it's just, look at that guy swerving out of his lane up there. It just has so many features. It's obviously like where driving is going. I can't believe that, everybody else doesn't have them yet. I mean, but obviously it's expensive. There's no question about that. I mean, I had to pay the early adopter tax, which is the high price. So for me, it's worth it because I'm on the highway so much. As you can see, I did touch the wheel back there with that Penske truck, and I'm alert the whole time waiting, but I really have, outside of that, I haven't touched the wheel in about 49 minutes. Is that how long we've been on? 48 minutes, something like that. It's a lot more relaxing, that's for sure. Although, when you get a lot of cars on the road and a lot of traffic, it tends to maybe make you a little bit nervous. It does me sometimes. But I can tell when the system is capable of doing what it can do and when it's not. Certified pre-owned. Okay, if you look into certified pre-owned, the biggest thing you probably already know is make sure you get a vehicle for AutoPilot 2 that was produced after October 15th of 2016. And you can tell by looking at the side of the car. It's really easy. They'll be on where the side marker light is in the panel between the front wheel and the front passenger driver door. There's where there's a light. There's also a camera in there if it's AutoPilot 2, and there's also a camera in the B pillar if it's AutoPilot 2 on both sides of the vehicle. That's how you can tell. If you don't see those cameras there, it's not AutoPilot 2. Well, also, I know that one of the features that they uploaded recently in the software update was that my GPS here in the vehicle can recognize my voice for pre-programmed destinations like home. So I can say drive home, and I think right now it'll actually plot the route to home, but in the future it'll just drive the whole vehicle there. Apparently that's what it's supposed to do from what I understand. I got a phone call coming in. I'm actually not going to take that right now since I'm live. I'll take that one later. Okay. Yeah, definitely the prices come down fairly quickly on these cars. I don't know. I know that Elon Musk originally said it was like, I don't know. I think it was depreciation proof or something. I don't know what he said early on, but that's not been happening because, you know, as they have AutoPilot 2 and the other cars are not backwards compatible in any way, I think the value of the other earlier vehicles has dropped. Whoa, I gotta move. See those cones? You see those cones that right there? Like, they're sticking way out across the line. I had to take over there. And now we're braking pretty hard. The AutoPilot's doing that. I've just got the wheel right now for steering because these cones are not in line with the markings on the road. There's no way the system's gonna be able to know this. Anyway, people have bought earlier S's, like 2012. I've seen a 2012 Model S 85 being sold for 25 grand. Some of them in the 30s too. So, you know, they're fairly affordable. They're less money than probably the Model 3 is going to be if you buy a used S. And the biggest advantage of the S, from what I've seen, is that S has a trunk that's literally twice the size of the Model 3. And of course, it has two displays, like I got here, a display panel here and here, instead of the Model 3, which has one singular display right in the middle that's smaller than the 17-inch here. It's a 15-inch, I think. Yeah, it's going to be a while till I can let AutoPilot or AutoSteer take back over. AutoPilot is working with the adaptive cruise control. It's doing a good job. I don't have to touch anything with that, but the steering here, you know, AutoSteer is not going to work in this situation. This is why you have to be alert. Because actually it just came up suddenly, and I don't know if you remember, as I drove into this thing, it looked fine. All of a sudden, the cones started getting pushed out beyond the dotted white line. It happened gradually, and the system was not compensating for it. It's braking for me. Okay, we're getting out of this construction zone. I'm going to reset the AutoPilot AutoSteer. There we go. Actually, let me turn it off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I can't get that Mario Kart thing on. Maybe I'll have to wait till the next time I turn it off. Alright, we're getting closer to the Supercharger right now. We're 26 miles away from it. And actually, when we get there, if you haven't seen how you work these Superchargers, I will show you. I'll just keep the camera going, and I'll show you how it works, how you plug into it. There probably won't be many people there. Although this one here in South Hill is actually at a restaurant. So we're going to get there around a little bit before 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's a Monday. I think, you know, restaurants are usually really slow on Mondays. Yeah, definitely do not use AutoSteer in construction zones. But we're going to do another one. If I can do Facebook Live, we'll do another video up here on Route 85 inside the North Carolina line where it's, you know, they have these switchbacks in the construction zone. It's really weird. But the AutoPilot can handle some of it, but some of it can't. I've already figured out which ones it can and which ones it can't. See how right there we turned to concrete and now back to asphalt? That's kind of hard for the system to read, I can tell you, because it's thinking it has one thing, and here we're at the concrete again, but this is a bridge. But still, it's really hard to see those white lines, but it still picks them up. I'll also mention my repair that I went into Tesla for my Falcon wing doors. I had two issues with them. First issue happened with both doors, and that was that it was creaking on the way up and creaking on the way down. And this is a common problem from what I've seen on Model X's. Both doors were doing this. The passenger side door was doing something else in addition to that. Whenever I would open it, right at the time when it initially first started to open, you'd hear a popping or cracking sound coming out of the top. I think it's because it was out of alignment, and the top panel, which is actually glass, was binding a little bit on the center post or the center metal part. So that was bad. It didn't crack any glass or anything, and basically what they ended up doing, they told me, and I'm going to do more videos on this describing it, was that they shimmed it. They took I guess they added some metal shims. You know, not real high tech, but hopefully they have something specific for this application, and it doesn't do it anymore. So that popping or cracking noise has stopped. The creaking noise has stopped on that side too, but I still notice the creaking noise. It's come back on the driver's side, so I'll do a follow-up video on that also. I got to figure out if there's something that needs to be lubricated on a regular basis with these Falcon wing doors. You know, I just don't know. I'm trying to figure it out, but I know that these are kind of the Achilles heel. Even though they're the coolest, one of the coolest features about the car, it's also something that is so complicated. I know Tesla had to sue their contractor that developed the doors. You know, hopefully it won't end up being a problem over time. Hopefully. Hey, Moret, or is that what it is? Moret? I think can't pronounce it. I can't see it. It's so small on my device here. You're asking about my occupation. Well, I do a number of things. I am in real estate. Right now, my business is in the North Carolina area. I also have a landscape business in suburban Maryland. That's my car is vegan. The steering wheel's vegan. Actually, somebody just passed me on the right. That's bad. I shouldn't let that happen. Bad etiquette. Anyway, my nonprofit is called aplantbaseddiet.org. And we have a YouTube channel too. We talk about plant-based diets and anything vegan, and we put a veg fest together in Florida also. So electric cars are definitely a big part of that. You know, a big part of vegan. I'd say it's a very vegan thing to have an electric car, as long as it doesn't have any animal products or leather in it. That's why I had to make sure that mine didn't. Okay, I was gonna get over, but yeah, this truck's going too slow. We'll pass him first, and then I'll get out of this left lane. And also, if you're not familiar with the AutoPilot system, I can override this if I want to pass this guy. Like, I can get into the accelerator, which I will, just to show you how it works. I'm getting close, but I want to speed this process up, so I'll get into the accelerator. It's still going to steer for me, but I'm going way faster than what it's programmed to do. And then I'll just hit the auto lane change, get over here, and then we passed them, just like that. Just sped the whole process up, and we're back to the setting of 77. Yeah, see, it's a very bad connection right now. These are really rural areas we're in. Sorry about that. Hopefully the connection will be good when we get to the Supercharger, so I can show you how that works. Actually, once I get done with the Supercharger, I will probably turn this off once I get connected, just so you can see how it works. I'm going to tell you a few things about it. And then I might just do another quick live video a little bit later because I've got to return that phone call that came in. Do another quick live video when we get to that construction zone on 85 in North Carolina, because I want you to see how it handles that or doesn't handle it, because it's a little bit different. There's a really big 4x4 to my side there. You can see it a little bit in the mirror. See those big tires? Whoa, it's roaring. This guy won't get out of the way. Actually, let me just speed this process up again. I know he wants to get by, so hopefully there's no cop here. That's where they usually sit, and there was no cop, thank God. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna speed up, get out of this way so that guy can pass him, so we're not just sitting there. Actually, I'm letting him. Hey, you get to look at me now. Okay, my camera overheated there. I don't know how to turn this camera around, but you get to watch me anyway. And I just want to tell you, I will stop this video right now, and I'm gonna start another video in a little while to show you how to use the supercharger when I pull in there, which will be in about 5 minutes. So be on the lookout for that.